Sorry, we're going to wreck your arrangement. I'm Mary, but I'm just here to interview Steph. I know that a lot of us have experienced what that video says. By the way, if Steph and I both get through this without crying, that would be a miracle, just to warn you. Yeah, been there already. But what that video just said, Jesus accepts us and he loves us and he transforms us. And a lot of us have experienced that. And what we want to do now is just give you the opportunity to hear Steph's story and how Jesus has transformed her life radically. So, Steph, I know that you've been in Weymouth for just a couple of years, and God changed your life radically a few years before that, before coming here. Can you just tell us a little bit about what your life was like before you met Jesus, in your own words?
I'll try and make it very short, because so I was not brought up with any faith or anything. I was on drugs from 16, and I got clean when I was just before my 41st birthday. So basically the whole of my adult life, I was a drug addict. I mean, by the time I left school, I was selling drugs. It just progressed. I was on heroin and crack for about 20 years. I was on methadone for 16 years. Committed lots of crime, in and out of police stations, social services. Probably like as chaotic as you could possibly imagine, really. But I did always know that this wasn't my life. But when you're in it, you can't imagine ever getting clean. Because like I said, I was on methadone for 16 years. That's supposed to get you clean. It doesn't. So I lost my children and my home at the age of 40. Ended up sleeping. I'd had homelessness in my 20s as well. But this was different because I was 40 years old. I lost my children, lost my home. Ended up sleeping in a tent by the River Thames in Henley. And some lovely people, Christian people, took me to a rehab. So I couldn't get into a rehab through the doctors because I didn't have an address. So they said, we could get you in one tomorrow. It's Christian, and you just detox. And I was like, I had nowhere to go. This was like, this was my rock bottom. There had been previous things that should have been a rock bottom. My youngest daughter was born with cocaine and Valium in her system. And she said to me earlier on, she said she says it's lucky that I'm not, I don't even know I can't really say the word that she said. But we know it's not luck. We know it was God's grace that kept them safe. So I went to this Christian rehab. I didn't really think it through. I just got in the car and went and got there. So I was on heroin, crack, I was on methadone, I was on Valium, I was on Xanax, and I was taking gabapentin, which is like a synthetic opioid. So I was on a huge amount of drugs and a cold turkey debt, with just people looking after me and praying for me. And I felt a tremendous peace in this house, but I still didn't, believe in God but I was in this environment where I felt safe and I could feel a peace. And it took months of me investigating and picking apart everything that people told me, but I still wasn't feeling anything. And I think I'd been there 6 months when I decided to split with my partner, who was of 18 years, who was still using. And that was on the night I got baptised, and that was literally like, I felt everything. I felt chains fall off, I felt the Holy Spirit, and I can't even describe how different my life is. It was a wonderful place. I stayed there during lockdown. I was supposed to leave, and then lockdown hit. But I made connections with Paul because of Mary and because of some other people. It was, that you only know is God that sent me to Prayer House. So I stayed during lockdown, ended up running the women's house. And then, should I carry on? And then came to Weymouth, where everyone's been absolutely welcoming, and worked with Mary on Fresh Start. I'm doing street pastors, Alison. What else do I do? Toddlers with Caroline at the back here. So everyone's just really sort of like embraced me, and I got my children back. When I first came out of Battelle, I got them back, and I was supposed to wait a year, but social services signed them back to me quite quickly. And I don't know if any of you have dealt with social service. It's quite a big thing to get your kids back from them once they've been taken. And my children have been absolutely amazing. I can't even describe how amazing they've been. And I live here. I live in Chickrell. And I'm just going to read something that was prophesied over me during my time in Battelle. So God used it to. He uses people to help guide you back onto a path, doesn't he, as well? And at the time, I was kind of. Sorry, can you hold that down? Sorry. At the time, I was kind of losing my way a bit, and I was given this. I'm going to read it in the Message, because at the time I was really into the Message, and that's when it spoke to me. It's Isaiah 42:6. Here we go. Sorry, I got really nervous then. So it says, I am God. I have called you to live right and well. I have taken responsibility for you, kept you safe. I have set you among my people to bind them to me, and provided you as a lighthouse to the nations. So when someone gave that to me, I was in the middle of actually thinking of leaving Battelle, and probably was going to use, and God spoke through someone, gave me that, and was basically saying, look, I've looked after you, what I've done for you, and you're going to go out there and you're going to be a lighthouse, and you are going to bring people to me. And it felt like a very heavy burden at the time, but it felt very real, and I knew that I had to just stick with what I had to do. And he's been so good, and I can't even describe. My life has been so amazing, especially since I've come here. And even where I work, and people aren't believers, that everyone has been so lovely, and I know this is where I'm supposed to be. And the lighthouse, even he speaks to me, he knows what it speaks to you. And lighthouse has been a big part of my journey. And every day I go to the gym at 10 to 8. There's a company around the corner called Lighthouse, and all the vans go past me every morning. And it's he knows. And the first day I was at Prayer House, we did the conga, which sounds crazy. But my first day in Battelle, we did the conga. And on my last day in Battelle, we did the conga. So when I came to, which is pretty unusual, isn't it? And I came to Prayer House, and the first thing they were doing was the conga. I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so, he's so good. And I'm so blessed with everyone around me. And can't imagine my life, how it was before. It was. I've been back to the church that brought me here, where Mary and Ryan actually used to go. So, and people there that knew me in my old life, and they see me and they're like, I'm a very different person. I was not a nice person. I was not the person that you wanted living in your community. I was out doing bad things all the time. But I know it was not wasted, and I know it's God used it all for good.
We are so thankful that you are in our community, and we just bless you to be a lighthouse and to lead other people to the light that is Jesus. Thank you. Your testimony is evidence that Jesus transforms us in the deepest, deepest parts. It's not just superficial. It's not just a feeling. It's life. He is life-changing. And yeah, we thank you so much for your courage and for sharing your story, Steph.
So we're going to begin to turn to